What should a manager do before every sales call with his rep?
So firstly, preparing together for a meeting. So understanding what the objective of the meeting is from the sales executive's perspective, understanding who you're meeting, and thirdly, what are the best case and worst case outcomes you want to achieve from that meeting. In terms of allaying any fears, I think the important thing is re-emphasizing the fact that you're there to support them in that dialogue, in that engagement. Allowing the sales executive to actually explain what role they want you as sales manager, sales executive to play in that meeting starts building the confidence and the relationship, which means that in subsequent discussions and meetings of this type, I've always found that any fears no longer exist, even if they had at the start of the relationship.
What is the consequence of playing the role of super rep on a joint call?
It's very dangerous to actually turn into super rep, as you put it, and take total control of the meeting and the engagement. I think it's bad in terms of the relationship you have with your sales guy, because it starts eroding their confidence. And as we all know, salespeople who aren't confident are really very effective. Secondly, I think it also undermines the sales exec's relationship with the client, which means that they themselves become increasingly less effective in the eyes of the client. And ultimately, people buy from people. And if a client feels that their sales exec isn't one that has the authority or the ability to meet their needs, that's a relationship that will end very rapidly.
A question, let's assume that I'm your manager. We're going on a sales call. We're in the customer's office. How would you introduce me?
In terms of the introduction, I think it is as sales manager, director of sales, EVP of sales, whatever the role it is that you're fulfilling in the organization. I think what's important, however, is to be clear about the reason that the manager is joining the meeting. And importantly, as part of that reason, explaining the value for the client of meeting this individual as well.
What should a manager do after every sales call?
So I think a debrief following each meeting is critical. In that debrief, it's important to cover not just what occurred during the meeting and discuss and agree between yourselves how, if any things could have been improved, how they could have been improved. Secondly, being clear about the takeaways from the meeting itself in terms of actions, but also new information critically that was gleaned from that dialogue. And last but not least, agreeing how you can work better together. However, the typical dialogue for the kind of experienced salespeople that I've been fortunate to work with throughout my career is one where I'll ask them what they thought of the meeting and how it went. And generally I found that most people will they themselves say, well, actually, this particular thing, this particular event or discussion point in the meeting did not go very well. And then you can have a positive dialogue about how to do that better next time. However, it does become a little more challenging when they say, that was a perfect meeting. And then you have to say, well, actually, I disagree. I think this could have been handled better. Explain the reasons why and talk through with them whether they also agree. And if not, then you know you've got another set of issues to deal with.
Deeper problem to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, we found that sales reps also respond very well to what went well in the sales call. What would you do differently the next time? Leaving them the very words that you said, their integrity, their respect,
right,
so that you give them a chance to catch themselves.
Absolutely.
Typically, they know when they haven't done what they might have done. Armed with what you see and hear on your sales calls with your reps, how can you use that information to improve the entire sales team as well as improving the individual rep?
The output of these meetings should be feedback into the sales team about product strategy, positioning, about negotiation strategies, about how they themselves can be more effective in future meetings of this particular type.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're not doing this, it's a massive missed opportunity.
And so that may be a way of feeding into your sales meetings.
Absolutely.
As you're dealing with them, you
Absolutely.
see this is happening with several of the calls, several of the people. That becomes a foundation for maybe some training for them.
Absolutely.